welcome to Moral Side of the News, our weekly discussion of today's top local, national, and world stories from a religious, ethical, and moral point of view. I'm Sean Kilen with the WHAS Crusade for Children. I'm joined this week, as always, by a distinguished panel of local religious leaders. Reverend Dr. Kilen Gray, Creative Spirits, Behavioral Health. Father Bill Hammer, St. Margaret Mary and St. William Catholic Churches. Dr. John Slider, retired pastor, Free Methodist Church. Richard Uhler, retired U.S. Army chaplain. And Rabbi Emerita Gaylia R. Rooks, the Temple. We begin this week with the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO in New York City, followed by the multi-day manhunt and arrest of the suspect in Pennsylvania.
This morning, Luigi Mangione is charged with the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The 26-year-old led by police in handcuffs, appearing in a Pennsylvania court on local gun and forgery charges. Mangione was arrested some 300 miles from the Manhattan murder scene, traveling through Altoona on a Greyhound bus that stopped at this McDonald's. Police say someone recognized him from surveillance images and an employee called 911.
A McDonald's employee did something we ask every American to do. If you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something. And they did.
Officers found Mangione wearing a mask. When asked for ID, police say he gave them this fake New Jersey driver's license, the same one he allegedly used to check into a hostel in New York City 10 days before the shooting. When asked if he'd been to New York, court records say Mangione became quiet and started to shake. The NYPD racing to Altoona. Police say the suspect had this ghost gun that may have been made with a 3D printer, similar to the weapon used to kill Thompson, along with handwritten notes that sources tell ABC News mentioned UnitedHealthcare by name and said these parasites had it coming. At the crime scene, police finding deny, defend, and depose written on the bullets. Mangione grew up in Maryland, attending the prestigious Gilman School in Baltimore, graduating in 2016 as valedictorian. He's seen here speaking at the school's Founders Day. Online, Mangione posted about the infamous manifesto by Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, saying he was a violent individual, but also an extreme political revolutionary. He also posted an X-ray of the spine and reviews of books about back injuries, authorities including them as part of the investigation. The family of Luigi Mangione saying in a statement, "Our family is shocked and devastated by Luigi's arrest. We offer our prayers to the family of Brian Thompson." His murder has triggered anger online at the insurance industry. UnitedHealthcare putting up fencing around its headquarters.
I understand people have real frustration with our healthcare system. This killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero.
So there's several disturbing components of the story: the assassination of a CEO, the Ivy League background of the suspect, the folks glorifying the murder of and a win for fight against the healthcare industry. Where do we start with this one?
Wow.
I'll start and
Please.
say, I put me in the column of people who are frustrated and disgusted with the corporate greed of healthcare in this country. Okay? It's all about money to them. Having said that, murdering someone in cold blood, in any way, is just so inappropriate and wrong. I mean, violence is never the answer. This is outrageous, and it really shocks me that there are Americans who see this man as a hero, because that is not a heroic act. Leading a revolution to change our health care, which is in desperate need of change, needs to be a nonviolent revolution, and I'm disappointed in Americans who think that this was a good thing or a heroic thing to do.
Yeah, there are so many layers, and I appreciate what you said, Gaylia. Coming from a life of privilege, possibly he was frustrated with the medical care he thought he was due. He was, 26 and forced to come off of his parents' policy, if that's indeed where his medical insurance was. And just, I'll throw in being radicalized for 6 years at an Ivy League university. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I agree with you, Gaylia, that those persons who are hailing this fellow as a hero are just absolutely out of their minds. I think it is pure, basic narcissism to think that your agenda, your health issues, whatever, you're not getting what you think you deserve, trumps the life of another person. Is just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and there are ways to protest. If he had, in fact, been, for lack of a better term, tailing this healthcare executive, he could have run up to him and said, look at my, brought attention to his own case or his own situation or whatever that might be. But to feel like I can protest by shooting somebody, especially in the back, but shooting them like head on, I mean, to shoot somebody because you disagree with their treatment of other people. But it does bring to the forefront as well, I think as everybody else is saying too, that there is problems in the healthcare system. There are people who are denied benefits, and sometimes it costs them their lives. Or there's times when whatever limits are put on, some of us have all experienced sometimes, not at this level, but deductibles that become unmanageable. And the things that happen in what is, I'm going to use quotation marks, the best healthcare system in the world.
But it's not.
But that's why I use a quotation
It's the
mark.
most expensive.
Yes.
But what are we ranked? Like 40th or something?
Well, that I don't know, but it's
Is that right?
But it is a case where
by whom?
Yeah. That's so much is it. But just the choice of violence, and especially from someone who was raised in a faith perspective too.
It's tragic across the board for me. It is tragic for wife and kids now to be without a father.
Sure.
Yes.
It's tragic that now other CEOs of insurance companies are now thinking about security. We just saw UnitedHealthcare fencing in their headquarters. Other healthcare companies will be doing the same. It is true that there are drastic results from people having engagement with health insurance companies. It's drastic. There are people who are suffering because of denied claims that happens over and over again. And it is not a good system. The healthcare system is good for some people. It's not good for a lot of people, and it's not working for a lot of people. But I agree with the statements that have been made that breaking the law and taking the life of someone is never a result. It is never a response. It never should be a consideration as a way of protest. We have no evidence that this is connected with any other type of group or any type of protest actions against healthcare. There are groups in the country, though, that do advocate for a better healthcare system, that are working every day, writing letters to legislators, doing a lot of advocacy on the behalf of people who the healthcare system has not worked for, and there are millions of those. There are millions of people in this country where our health system does not work for them. There are various different situations, shifting employers, or it's directly connected with employment and health care, which is an unfortunate combination, that the only way to get health care is if you're working. That's a unique reality in global health care consideration. We're gonna have to do something about this. We're talking about it now. People are talking about it across the country, about the healthcare system, but it needs to be a high priority consideration for all of us, because I lament the CEO's death. I grieve for his family. I grieve for the UnitedHealthcare family employment group. I grieve the fact that we do not make health care the priority that we need to make it, and that being health care should be a human right. There's nothing other than a capitalist explanation of why the healthcare system is set up the way it is. And it only benefits those who have the privilege to benefit from it. It does not work well for the poor, for those who are economically challenged. It does not work well for them. We can do better. We can do better as a country. But of course, that argument has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that there's a family that's going to go into a funeral, that's going to be missing a loved one for the rest of their lives, impacted by someone that has no knowledge of this family. They don't know anything about the person's life, but because of this person's pain and the way they decided to express their pain, a family is missing a loved one. And that breaks my heart more than anything else.
As a former Army medic, I go with my laundry list of issues, questions, and various other things, and try to manage my own health care. However, sometimes you hear that famous phrase, well, the insurance isn't going to cover that. Right? And, well, we have to check with the insurance company to see if they will do this or that. So those are, some of the things that I keep hearing. But at least, try to make a point to, this is what what I'd like to see happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works more often than not. But we talk about, being weaponized through the various, schools to maybe be a revolutionary, and are they the same ones that have kicked out the 10 Commandments out, and only because the first few have to do with our relationship with our God? And but what about 6 to 10? That's a relationship with each other. And what part of don't kill don't people understand? What part of don't steal don't people understand? And various other things that are related to that. So we've lost morality too, it seems like. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you were pausing there. I don't hear it around this group here, this circle, but I have seen some reactions to the killing that doesn't necessarily give legal cover, but certainly will give moral cover by bringing in the healthcare system. Certainly everything can be improved. It just disturbs me, some of the voices I hear who are in some way will say, Senator Elizabeth Warren was being interviewed on the Joy Reid show. What is it, the Readout or something like that, on MSNBC, and she said, well, of course I'm against the killing, and she was being sincere against killing, but you can push people just so far. So what does that give him some moral cover that, yeah, this was okay? The use of the conjunction "but" negates everything that was said ahead of that.
I'm sure she didn't mean it that way. It's the
well,
same as
I'm
what
not
I
sure,
said.
and then I'm saying everybody here was certainly not taking that approach and giving moral cover to this killing, but there are some that are reacting in a positive way,
right,
to this, and I think we as moral leaders need to reject that.
I think we also need to understand that while there's no moral cover for murder, there has been provided moral cover for the immoral way that corporations react toward individuals in this country. And the healthcare industry is one of those industries that the actions are actuarial, as responsible business should be, but it does not go toward the ability for people to be able to receive the care that they need across the board. There are moral decisions that are being made under a business guise within the way that insurance companies do what they do. And so it's easy to be able to see how immoral this act is, and it is not prudent to try to put any type of moral cover on what Luigi did to the CEO. But there needs to be moral conversations about how insurance companies make a decision to not cover health care when people desperately need it, making the money piece the only basis for making that decision. And other countries are not doing that.
Well, you're assuming that all these corporations making a general sweeping statement make immoral decisions based on money only. And I
No,
would
that's not what I'm
dispute that.
saying.
Well, I was trying to summarize, and if I missed what you said, and I apologize. But there is a moral dilemma that these health insurance companies have. They are required to show a profit. They're private companies. At the same time, they are required to cut costs and to lower expenditures by most of the contracts that they have. So it's a difficult balancing
I'll tell you how
act
they
for
can
them.
lower expenditures right off the bat is the amount of money that they pay the top people and their shareholders. And anyway, we could debate this all day. I just
Yeah.
want to mention one other point that has not been raised, and you know me, I just can't let it go. But gun violence in this country like no other,
Yeah.
and it's very scary. The idea that someone can, I mean, you don't even need to because it's so easy to get guns in this country, but the 3D printing of guns is just going to blow this whole, if we don't get a hold of the gun violence. So I know that's not the direction people want to go, but
No,
I just
I'm
wanted to
happy
put
to
that
go
out
that. I
there.
was kind of anticipating that, Gaylia.
Yeah, well.
knowing each other for such a long time. My recollection is that would have been an illegal possession of a firearm in New York, so the law there did, and it's, I believe, illegal to murder people
Right,
also in New
right,
York, so
right,
the laws
right,
there didn't
yep.
stop anything.
Yep.
So where do we go from there?
And how
Good
does that-
points. I'm not
Right.
disagreeing with
Right.
anybody. I'm just saying that there's a lot of layers, as Sean, you said,
But
to
I
begin
hope that
with.
people are involved in conversations, as we are today, that either following on this or what's just going on, because we're being taped, what's going on literally, at this time in other people's homes before they even see this conversation.
Right.
Can people, again, be challenging each other? Hopefully in schools they're having discussions, about the kind of response that one gives when one is very hurt or upset or angry or frustrated. There is ways again to protest. There are ways
Right.
to do that and not take people's lives. That's the thing. And that is not only criminal, but it's against every human right that we talk about, the right to life, the importance of respecting every human being. And,
We're talking about violence, and we're talking about something that this nation celebrates.
Yep.
We're talking about violence that we have normalized for centuries since the birth of this nation. We have normalized specific times when violence is allowed and is okay. And we don't talk about enough the cultural violence that is normative in our culture. Violence is all over the place. Part of the work that I do is with domestic violence perpetrators to try to end their violence against those who they love. Violence is every day. It's something that we have become immune to. And part of our conversations about gun violence takes into this normal expectation for violence from the point of making sure that you protect yourself and you protect your family and making sure that you're safe as best as you can. But we don't have enough conversations about alternative responses to things that upset us other than violence. We don't have enough conversations about that. There are plenty of people in different organizations that are trying to forward those conversations, but that's a conversation that needs to be had. This person had choices. This person had other choices to choose other than murder.
Right.
This person made, and that's why this person must bear the brunt of the judgment of what this person did.
And not be celebrated or
And
elevated.
not be celebrated. We
as a
cannot
hero.
celebrate this person's act. And neither should we. We should challenge each other as a nation to take a look at how we embrace, glorify, if not deify violence
And it
in various different
it
ways.
hasn't solved the healthcare situation either.
Right.
Now, I've seen the healthcare situation not only here in the U.S., but also in Canada when I was up there.
Yeah.
And the provincial health care was very simple. You paid a small premium, and they paid the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't get this thing about co-pays and deductibles. I don't get it. And we didn't have that up there when I was there, and so I can see the difference between.
Yeah.
Things have probably changed in the years since I've been there, but healthcare is still healthcare. The 1990 healthcare reform didn't do anything. I'm not even sure if ACA it may be questionable too,
Well,
because we haven't solved anything.
The ACA has absolutely expanded access.
It has.
it
There's no
definitely
question.
has.
Millions of people
It
have
has
health care
expanded access.
ability now that didn't. But it's the same broken system that they've been welcomed
Exactly.
into.
That's
That's the
exactly
point
right.
I'm trying to make.
But at
yeah.
least they have something.
But we
I wasn't
can't-
addressing
Right.
access. I was addressing the
Right.
fact that, what do you get once you have the access?
The same as everybody
Yeah.
else.
But to be
Exactly.
attentive, again, to some of the earlier discussion too, as well about what is it about our nature that oftentimes reacts that way. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go back biblically to two brothers, Cain and Abel.
Right.
I mean, there's something that goes way back in our understanding of ourselves that has acknowledged that there is something we have to be on morally recognizing the capacity all of us have to resort to violence. More often than not, it's going to be verbal violence. More often than not, it's not going to be, taking on a life. But there is
Kylan's right. It's, you're talking about Cain and Abel, and there is that instinct within us. But there's more violence per capita in America than and people say, oh, it's the video games. Well, kids in Europe have video games.
You didn't finish your sentence. More violence per capita in America
Than almost any country,
Almost any.
certainly any first world country.
like Ukraine.
Well, there's a horrible
Like Israel.
war going on there now.
Yeah.
But okay, we can get into all that, but that's really far afield from our conversation.
Exactly.
I think what you're going to see is what happened to a colleague of ours that just happened. The doctors are taking a significant role in saying that a colleague of ours was on the table, had a heart attack, was denied the procedure, and the doctor said, no, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We'll fight that on the back end.
Right.
You're going to die if you don't get this.
That's
so
right.
put it
Right.
on me.
Right.
So it's going to
Hooray.
take voices like that
That's
to lead us out. of it.
heroic.
Yeah.
that
That
is
is
heroic.
heroic.
And hospitals do this for access. They treat whoever comes in, and then deal with
Right.
the insurance later. If the insurance isn't okay, they've still treated the patient. So there is access in a sense.
Healthy conversation.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
No
Thank
pun
you.
intended.
Thanks for thanks for watching and listening to the Moral Side of the News on WHS Radio, the iHeart family stations, and WHS TV. Move on to our second topic. We have about 5 minutes left in the show. Probably not enough time to address this, but overseas, we move to Syria. Rebel forces are in charge after ousting the country's longtime dictator.
The true nature of Bashar al-Assad's regime is becoming much clearer this morning.
This is Sednaya prison, one of this region's most notorious. Assad locked up political prisoners for decades here. Finally, they're going free.
Families stream in, desperate for news of the people they lost. We arrive to find a man reading names from a list. They are all the people thought to have been hanged here. People who lost loved ones hold up the nooses that may have killed them.
They want to show us, they want to show the world proof of Assad's brutality. The ropes that hanged probably hundreds, maybe thousands of detainees.
This man confronts me. My son was 15 when they took him. Where is he? We want answers, he cries. He was taken 11 years ago. They all have pictures. They all have stories. In the depths of the prison, tiny cells with no windows. And in another room, a hydraulic press. They say crushed the bodies of the dead. All of this to keep one man in power. But now former President Assad is in Russia, where Vladimir Putin has granted him asylum. This while the new group now in charge, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, tries to stabilize the chaos of revolution. Its leader, Ahmed Shara, already holding talks about transition. This while the search intensifies for Austin Tice, an American journalist kidnapped while reporting in Syria in 2012. His family holding on to hope as a source tells them he is alive and well. This morning, U.S. officials are looking into reports Tice may be in or around Damascus.
So panel, your thoughts on this? We have about 3 minutes left in the show. Not enough time to really address it fully, but I'll stop talking so you can.
Well, I think President Trump came up, President-elect, or however you want to address him, with the proper response. We'll let things develop. Those aren't his words; those are mine. But let things develop. There's such a turmoil and upheaval and so many parties involved. That's all we can do. I think the Israeli Defense Force has done a lot of good work for us, getting rid of a lot of the weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons specifically. So.
Hard to believe anyone could use chemical weapons on their own people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's totally immoral to use them on anyone, but on your own people.
At some point, strong men fail. Strong men fail. They never last long.
I know what they have, or what they had, and now it remains to see what's going to develop since, in the coming days. What's going to happen? We've seen where things have gone from bad to worse. So.
Yeah.
Well, the issue again of is it going to resurface in a different form of retribution? That's, I think, has to be monitored, and so many people again make that part of our prayer life as well. But that we've observed that where sometimes this kind of thing opens up new possibilities for great growth, in so many different ways, in nations and in their ability to become once again creative and thriving and developing their own lives educationally, faithfully, and all that stuff. But sometimes you just flip a coin, and now it's a different set of oppressors.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to keep monitoring, and that's what we need to try to influence that to make sure.
And to your point, Kilen, about great men always fail, or power, strong men, right? But you have to remember that the Assad regime has been also in his father's
half-century.
I mean,
Yes.
it's been a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And when this Assad was elected, I should put that in quotes, it was with the promise of all kinds of reforms and stuff. And anyway, it's a murky area of the world,
It
and
is.
it could. There's tremendous potential there for things to get so much better, and never underestimate people's capacity to shoot themselves in the foot. So
Well, we had some experience of like Eastern Europe. Once they were freed and were able to be self-determining, and what great things have happened.
Yep.
After that.
And yet a lot of upheaval, too.
Also, too,
in the
initially,
process.
In the process, yeah.
To Kilen's point, and very quickly, Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote a book in the last days of the Soviet Union, and he postulized, I guess that's the word, what if it's all paper mache? What if it's just that extra, and you puncture it? Oftentimes, the puncture occurs, and the strong man falls. Strong person falls.
Well, we pray for peace and democracy and freedom and equality and all good things.
Thank you very much. We'll end it there. Great conversations today. Thanks to Reverend Dr. Kilen Gray, Father Bill Hammer, Dr. John Slider, Richard Uhler, and Emerita Gaylia R. Rooks. Thank you so much, Rabbi Emerita Gaylia R. Rooks. Have a great night.